Do you think that Melbourne attracts a large number of tourists and why?
Tourists in general, it does. I think Sydney still wins if you're talking about like international tourists, but from a sports and major events perspective, then certainly Melbourne probably does more than its fair share.
Yeah.
So if I think it's a hard one because every year is different because major events come and major events go, and sometimes Sydney will do something like I don't know US college football as an example, and we'll do and then whereas we get like F1 tennis. Like sort of really regular events, whereas Sydney are pretty good at doing sort of a one-off, really large scale, one-off sort of scale events. But yeah, I mean, you talk about something like between the grand final, spring racing carnival, into cricket, into tennis, into F1.
Yeah, because everything happens the same. Yeah.
So they do, and they do quite a good job. Melbourne does quite a good job of spreading that throughout the year, where Sydney can be quite concentrated. But Sydney does better overall numbers. But look, it's one of those hard to tell. NRL's pretty big, rugby's pretty big. So if they have a Bledisloe Cup, for example, in Sydney, and Melbourne doesn't have it, then you'll get like 30,000 people coming from New Zealand just for the Bledisloe Cup. So it all depends on which year and what's on.
Yeah.
Do you believe that tourism in Melbourne is increasing, and how this will affect Melbourne?
It certainly is. Things like a lot of it's based around infrastructure. So things like the port, where you've got the huge cruise ships that come in. Like every city almost in the world is asking for a bigger port, just because the ships get bigger and bigger and more people come on them. But yeah, the competition's pretty fierce in the sports and event space as well, between all the cities. Someone like Adelaide, brand new oval, everyone wants to go to the Adelaide Oval. So the competition, it's all about infrastructure. So who's got the better stadiums? Do you have enough hotels to look after all the people who want to come? So Melbourne and Sydney are pretty good like that because they're sort of big tourism cities. Whereas some of the smaller cities, Brisbane, Hobart, Adelaide, Perth, for a really, really massive event, they can sometimes just the hotels struggle. You're not going to build hotels just for one thing. So, so Melbourne does really well like that. Like Flemington's getting upgraded. They're talking about building another stadium here as well. So there's always, tennis centre's getting like a $250 million upgrade. So yeah, as long as you're putting into the infrastructure, then people will keep coming. For sure.
Well, on that note, are there any more big stadium increases due to the population that come to each of the games?
Look, we're in a pretty good spot because we've obviously got 100,000 people across the road here, sort of 50,000 people at Etihad. Amy, the square one, is sort of 30,000-ish. But yeah, I mean, in the papers there's always new plans. Like you never know what's actually going to happen and what's not. But like we're pretty lucky with the tennis centre. Amy, MCG, really, really close to each other. And then you've got there's a swimming centre, hockey centre. So Melbourne's got plenty. Even though we're knocked down Waverley, there's still plenty here. But Sydney's looking at doing a lot of stuff as well. So I think there's a new Parramatta they're aiming for in Sydney. Obviously Perth's about to open a brand new stadium with 60,000 people across from the Wacker. So everyone, and Adelaide Oval's just finished like 2 or 3 years ago. So every city will be doing something in this space. It just depends on what events they can get and how much the government wants it. Some governments are really pro getting tourists, and if you have a premier of a state who's also the state tourism minister, then you find there's a little bit more that goes into it. Otherwise, someone else has to yell at the premier and try to get more money. So, but everyone does it differently. I mean, in Queensland, all the stadiums are run by the government, whereas here they're all run sort of individually. So it's just different every state you go to. But Melbourne's doing quite well for itself, I think, in those areas.
Do you think sport creates job opportunities in Melbourne and helps the economy?
For sure, no doubt. So Spring Racing Carnival always says the economic impact is about $350 million a year. You're talking not just what happens on the course, but there's like fashion stuff. People spend thousands of dollars getting ready to go to the Spring Racing Carnival. Ashes, when we have Ashes seasons in particular from a cricket perspective, that's obviously the really big one. So that's coming up this year. There'll probably be about 50,000 people coming from the UK. They sort of spend about the same. It's billions of dollars in the long run from the exposure that you get. People going back and saying, "I had a great time. You should do it as well." But direct impact can be somewhere between 350,000 and sort of $500 million into the economy, which is a lot. And there's there's hotels in Melbourne that sort of work really well with the sports, and those hotels wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that regular sports flow. So, yeah, I think it's certainly a huge job generator. Even during the games, like just during the match that it was on, the MCG, if it's got 20,000 people, has a much smaller workforce than if it's 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And if you're playing for 4 or 5 days like a test match, then you've got to rotate people through. You can't have the same people coming all 5 days. So, you need extra trains, you need extra hotel staff, you need extra people who work in your tourism bodies. A lot of the tourism operators, like the river cruise people, as an example, they'll put on extra boats because they know there are more people coming. So, it all adds up, and we don't see all of it, but people are here for.
Yeah.
People who come for Ashes, for example, they usually come for 2 tests. Not many people decide to come to Australia to watch 1 game of cricket. So, yeah.
Works really well in Melbourne.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you explain?
It doesn't really matter. We can split the video just make it come back when we need it.
Oh, good.
Okay, next question. So, if there were to be more bigger stadiums built, do you think that it would demand a higher quality of athletes and have more of a variety of sports from international levels?
Yeah, in Australia you need that. In Australia you need a variety of sports to play in a venue. There's not many venues that are just one sport. So you think about across the road, they do concerts as well. So Guns N' Roses was there a couple of months ago. The new Perth Stadium's already got, I think it's Bruno Mars or Ed Sheeran, one of the two, is playing at the new stadium. So it's got to be bigger than just sport. Most stadiums in Australia, we're not like America, where they've got a baseball venue, they've got a basketball venue, but the basketball venue can share with the hockey, and then they'll have a separate NFL venue. It just doesn't. We don't have that number of people. We don't have that, I suppose, size of economy.
It's not that big.
Yeah, but look, in terms of the athletes, the athletes do that themselves. The athletes just get better and better, and but yeah, look, having a nice new. Go somewhere like the Wacker in Perth, and it's pretty old school in there. You sort of got 1980s change room facilities, and you go to the Adelaide Oval and it's they've got these glass mirrors, so the players are getting ready and people in corporate hospitality can watch in. So it's just completely different, completely different builds, and the new venues are set up a lot more, I suppose, entertainment precincts rather than sports. So they think about how people can watch the game. It's not just sitting in a seat. There's a lot of barbecue decks. So if you go to Spotless in Sydney, for example, where the Sydney Thunder play, they've got a barbecue deck for 800 people. So it's a pretty cool night out. And that sort of stuff attracts more people, obviously. So it's not, you can't just build a bowl anymore. You've got to build a whole lot of stuff around it. But yeah, we're not America, so you can't. There won't be like a Melbourne Stars home ground, Melbourne Renegades home ground that's just that. It may be in sort of a lot, 20, 30, 40 years, but not immediately.
So what sports do you think attract the most tourists?
Oh, well, cricket, so I've got to say cricket. It depends on, there's different metrics to measure that. So cricket's a good one because it's long, right? Yeah. So we play 5 days, and most people, that's 6 nights. And that's a really nice chunk of time. So AFL Grand Final, you go, great, it's a huge event, 100,000 people, but it's 1 day, and it's a Saturday afternoon, which means you can fly in on Saturday morning, and if you really want to get out of here, you could leave on Saturday night. You spend Saturday night, have a party, leave on Sunday morning. Whereas, like I said, Test cricket, you sort of 5 days. And then the bigger events where you get like a swim champs, a swimming world championships or athletic world championships, where you get a week. But those are the really valuable events, but they don't come around. They don't come around that often. So in terms of a regular, sort of the big 4 or 5 sports that we would have in Australia, then cricket's a good one just from the length of stay. We might not.
Yeah, because you might get 20,000 people in each day, and that's like 100,000 people.
Yeah, but they're not. It's always. But some of those people will be the same people coming back. Yes. But from a tourist perspective, that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you speak to Tourism Victoria, for example, Visit Victoria, Destination New South Wales, those guys, they don't care about. They care about how many people are coming in. That's like their top line goal. So they'll all have their charts which say this number of people came to Sydney, this number of people came to Melbourne. But the next thing they care about is where do those people go, and they want to push people out to the country, to regional areas, because they have to spend more. And the more you travel, the better. So, and then you create jobs out in the country as well. So that's why it depends on what you're after. So something like a grand final, great, you're in, you're out. You might go, great, there's 30,000 people there who travel from interstate, but cricket can get 5,000 people travelling to state, but they stay for the 5 days. So it's sort of, which one's more valuable is a really hard one. Like spring racing is the same. You know, people go to 1 day, but the blokes buy a suit, $1,000. Women buy a dress, $4,000. You know, like it's just completely different. He's talking about dollars spent or number of nights, or you've got to think of it 1,000 different ways. And every sport will tell you that theirs is the best in that metric. You know, so I'll say cricket's better for room nights. Yeah, because I think we average 7 nights. So 50,000 people come, 7 nights, 350,000 nights.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, an AFL Grand Final, maybe you get 30,000 nights. But they'll come and say they've got more people. So it's just depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
Everything's about statistics and which one you want to make work best for you.
How many tourists do you think this sport would attract on a rough estimate?
So we do a lot of stats on that, obviously. So I think in a non-Ashes year, because Ashes is obviously very different. So something like Pakistan, West Indies, like we've had for the last 2 or 3 years, about 1/3 of the public crowd is traveller. So you've obviously got members areas which are a bit different. So members are usually sort of based in their city. You know, so an MCG member will come slightly different number. But from a public perspective, so the number of seats that are available to the public, we say it's sort of about 1/3. Sometimes it hits 40%. Somewhere like Adelaide, day-night test, new venue, you end up at somewhere 50% initially, but I think that'll just, you know, people go, they see it, they have a great time. They might tell their mates to go, but they'll go to their Brisbane test if they're from Brisbane or whatever it might be. So, yeah, it's just it's about 30% depending on the match and who's playing and the weather. All these things all come into it.
To increase the tourism involving sporting events, do you think that the low levels of sports, such as the state or regional sport, should be played at a better and more popular sporting
Centre. Okay, so like playing Sheffield Shield, for example, somewhere better.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that's a real chicken and egg question, because if you go to a Sheffield Shield game over here, there's like 300 people, you know, 400 people watching, but you're playing in a ground of 100,000 people. So the players want to play there, because if they get called up, they've got to know the MCG. You know, they want to feel comfortable there. They want to know what the wicket's like. It's the same with the footy player. The footy player will always tell you the first time they walk out on the MCG is just a crazy day. You know. So you sort of, actually there's 2 sides to that. There's the one's the high performance side, where you want to play in the best venues. But at the same time, there's the economic argument as well, that that's an expensive place to rent for 300 people to come and watch cricket. You know, someone like the Sydney Thunder was a really good example. So the Sydney Thunder, for their first Big Bash seasons, played at ANZ Stadium. So they were getting 20,000-30,000 people, but it felt terrible for the crowd. Now, the Big Bash is all about entertainment and being a fun product to go to. So moving to Spotless, it's full, everyone's having a better time, and then people are like, we should move back to ANZ Stadium. So there is a bit of, it's a bit of toing and froing, and there's no really right answer to it. You've just got to look at each sport and say, well, would this work? You know, to me, what we're doing a lot now with Sheffield Shield, moving it out to regional areas, so we might play in Ballarat or Bendigo or Geelong. That's the way to start. So you move one game there, get a nice crowd along. You know, Queensland play up in Townsville, for example. They play a couple of games up there, and I think South Australia's played in Alice Springs as well. So you can start doing like one-offs like that, but I wouldn't do that as a whole.
Yeah.
The players need to play in the best possible venue. So, yeah.
Do you think that the community is happy and enthused by the large scale of sporting events that occur often in Melbourne?
Yeah, that depends on the event. And it depends how long it's been here, and it depends who you ask. So, you know, if you read the papers, people who live down by the F1 track hate the F1 because it's loud, and you know they can't. That's the weekend for them is just gridlock traffic, and you know it's a nice, because it's an autumn for us.
Yeah.
So you know it could be the last nice weekend, and all of a sudden you can't go out of your house, and you know that's pretty hard. We're very lucky over here with the MCG because it's sort of in a park by the train stations and stuff, so you don't get that congestion, I suppose. But tennis is the same. Most Melbourne people tell you they love the tennis weeks because it's just fun. Like there's more stuff to do, and that really works well. So it does. But then there are other people who say it's really annoying because the parking, parking's horrible, and the road that runs through there's a pretty major road, so traffic's pretty nasty. but that's just people, you know, people like to complain about that sort of stuff. If the events weren't here, then yeah, as we were saying before about jobs, you know, there'd be a hell of a lot less jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a hard story to tell sometimes. You know, people like to, some of the newspapers like to get hold of a whinge and make it bigger than it needs to be. And look, some people, yeah, the F1's understandable. I've got mates who live down there and it's loud, like it's a really loud thing, you know. And you've got a little dog or, you know, cat or whatever, and that's your family pet, and first car starts up and your dog just runs, you know, it's not great fun for anyone. But look, like I said, it's, at the end of the day, if we didn't have them, then Melbourne wouldn't be Melbourne. Or, look, in general, Australia wouldn't be Australia. Some of these cities would, you know, like I said, Adelaide Oval has changed Adelaide. So I don't know whether you guys have ever been to Adelaide, but it's a completely different place now that they've got this huge oval there. And it brings in, you know, footy season it's full every game, and for cricket it's pretty much full every game as well, and that changes how the city feels, and there'll be people that hate it because it's not like it used to be. But if it wasn't there, then the city would be struggling. So yeah.
Well, can you suggest another way to improve sporting tourism in Melbourne?
No, I think look, a area that does it really well, Melbourne does it really well. I think we all work together as sort of major events, which is really good. We sort of get together every 2 months as a group of people who look after the tourism for our particular sport, and we talk really well, and we sort of help each other out. It's not real competition. We always figure if people are coming to Melbourne for one thing, they're quite likely to come back for another if they had a really good time. Look, infrastructure is always, yeah, like I said before, infrastructure is one of those things. Like, you know, it'd be great to have extra trains so that people didn't have to wait for 20 minutes to get a train from Richmond in a really full MCG game. Same with tennis, you know, like tennis is on, trams get hard to use, and trains as well. So it's really infrastructure based, but I mean, Melbourne's so far advanced, you know, compared to where the SCG and Allianz Stadium are. It's horrible to get to. Like, there's only buses, you know, and there's no car parking, and that's just a bit of a nightmare. It's quite close to the city, and obviously it's quite close to the eastern suburbs, so it works. But if the SCG was 100,000 people, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So Melbourne's quite advanced. You know, Brisbane's got the Gabba, not an ideal. It's not great. You can't walk from the city.
Yeah.
And it's only buses. There's no parking. So everyone's got something. That's why I said Adelaide's changed, because they've got the train stations right behind the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
You know, and it just makes a massive difference to how that comes together. So it's all about infrastructure, really. That's the key.
Well,